So today we're talking about authenticity. Today we're talking about being authentic. And this is a very important teaching. It's a very important lesson. And it's something that's very important for you to take into yourself and contemplate and find the truth for you, to find your authentic self. And so I want to thank you for being here with me. I really appreciate that you would take the time out of your life and your day, that you would choose to listen to these words. Out of anything you could be doing with your life, anything you could be doing with your day, of all the other people you could be listening to, you choose this. So thank you. I deeply appreciate that, because you're helping me to fulfill my calling and my authentic path, to support people through teachings, through presence, through love, supporting people to live in a loving way. And I found that there's a direct correlation between living love, living in a loving way, and being authentic. In fact, they must be together. We can't have one without the other. And in fact, many of you have probably heard this idea that actually authenticity is a higher energy level than love. Part of that is because authenticity is about truth. Authenticity is about aligning with truth and with our true self. One of the things that I've contemplated in this regard is the different levels of authenticity and the different levels of self. Because one of the definitions of authenticity that I feel the most resonant with is to be true to one's own personality, spirit, or character. It's very interesting when you think of this. True to one's own personality, spirit, or character. So what are we being authentic to? For example, if someone's like a used car salesman and they have that silver tongue, they can sell any car to anyone. They may not have all that much integrity, but in a way, that's their character. That's who they are. And they're authentic to it in a strange kind of way. That's not really the type of authenticity that we're promoting here. And our personality. Some people's personality is very self-absorbed and self-centered. Some people's personality is even highly narcissistic. And so in a way, if that's where one's personality is resonating at, and they show up in the world as a narcissist, are they not being authentic to their personality? Right? So it's good to have a vision. It's good to have a goal. It's good to have somewhere we're moving towards in our life, and to use the power of our intellect and the power of our mind to benefit us, to work for us, not against us. And that's why we outline these things here. So we want to be authentic to our spirit. That's my suggestion. That's what I teach. That's what I do my best to live as. And what I've found is that there's a trickle-down effect, that your spirit has a tendency to rub off on your character. And your spirit has a tendency to rub off on your personality. So the more we align with our spirit, the more we align with spiritual qualities, not the fly around the astral realm spirit qualities, the virtuous quality of the spirit. The more our personality will become like that, the more our character will become like that, and vice versa. The more we train our personality, the more we train our character to be like the spirit, the closer you will become to your spirit, right? So it goes both ways. The more you come to know yourself with a capital S, the true self, the real self, the spirit self, the soul self, the more you come to know that, the more your personality will have integrity, truth, love, virtue, service. The more your personality will just become an amazing human being that people want to be around, that people look to as a leader in whatever capacity, that people appreciate and are magnetized to. And same with your character. Now, if we're stuck in heavy, dense energy, sometimes we get stuck in those identities, the identities of the personality, the identities of the character that keep us stuck in a negative pattern, right? Well, how do we lift ourselves out of that? Be like your spirit. Live like your spirit would live. So if you think of your life right now, who would you be if you were fully 100% authentic to your spirit, to your soul? Think about that. Who would you be? Really, truly. Take a moment. And what's the gap between where you're at now and that? How close are you to that? How would you treat your wife or your husband, your partner? If you're dating, how would you treat the people you're dating? Excuse me. How would you treat, if you're dating and you're on Tinder or whatever, it's a strange dating world we're in now. How would you treat those people that you're meeting up with if you were living 100% authentic to your spirit? Would you even be on Tinder? Or would you be out in the world with a big open heart, attracting a beautiful human being into your life through synchronicity rather than through an algorithm? Right? How would you treat your coworkers, your boss, your clients, your customers, so on and so forth? Because until the personality and the character learns to be authentic to the spirit, it's limited in its capacity to really embody these higher virtues and higher states of being, virtues like love, like joy and peace, contentment, service, gratitude, all these beautiful qualities. So our personality, we need to train it. We need to teach it. We need to guide it. And that's really one of the cornerstones of the work that I do with people, and one of the cornerstones of the path that I walk, is to help people live and train our ego, our personality, our character to be more and more virtuous, more and more loving, more and more good, and to feel good and to be good, right? And it's not all about just being good and feeling good all the time. It's also about learning how to navigate those negative experiences, the negative terrain of our inner world, with grace, with ease, with swiftness, right? When those karmas and that negativity arises, no one likes getting stuck in it. It can be like if you're ever, out here on the West Coast, sometimes in the spring it gets really muddy. And if you're walking with gumboots, sometimes the gumboots will get stuck in the mud and you take a step and your foot comes out and your gumboot's stuck in the mud. And then if you're 3 steps ahead and you're not present, you might accidentally step in the mud with your sock. No one likes that. And yet that's often what happens to people when a lot of those negative karmas come up. Old wounds, old traumas, old fears, resistance, attachments, aversions, right? Control problems. People get stuck in them, and sometimes for years. And that's not necessary. It's really not. There's a tremendous amount of tools and resources available to us, both externally and internally. And the best external ones guide you internally, inward, to navigate these things with swiftness, with grace, with ease. It's not always easy. You still have to maybe go through the process a little bit and feel some uncomfortable things. However, it can be swift. To do that, though, we need to be authentic to our spirit. That's true freedom. So, another way to look at this that's helpful is that human beings are very unique in their nature. You'll have to excuse me. I'm still working through, excuse me, a cough. And I'm just being authentic. I'm not going to edit this out or try to hold it back. It's just where I'm at in my life right now. It's also part of the reason I'm filming this in my home right now. You're in my living room. There's a video of this. You may or may not be watching the video. That being said, I'm in my current residence. And right beside me is my cute little cat, Rumi. And if you follow me or Kendra, my partner, on social media, you probably know Rumi. And if you've been to our house, you definitely know him. He's a great cat. So he's here in the background holding space. And I was thinking of him, how authentic he is. How authentic cats are, how authentic dogs are, how authentic trees are, rocks are. They're authentic. They can't be anything but authentic. It's us humans that get all twisted up. And the reason is because we're this unique being on the earth. We stick out like a sore thumb, let's be honest. We don't really fit in here. When you look at all of nature, we have these weird haircuts, and like weird patches of hair, and we're kind of funny creatures. We have all these tools and, neuroses and all this stuff. And yet we're also amazingly gifted with a beautiful and epic and just extraordinary opportunity in that uniqueness to reach higher levels of experience because we have self-awareness. We have a mind, we have an intellect, and we have an individuated soul. So that takes me to my next point, which is the 3 levels of the human being. It's helpful to just quantify this a little bit, or to, speak of it in a way that the mind can just categorize. We have an animal, we have a mind, intellect, and we have a spirit, soul. And it's all this interesting synthesis within the human being. So our animal self tends to be the one that's driven by reactivity primarily, survival, instinct. It's the one that's just governed by fight or flight and highly reactive, right? So the animal self is not bad or wrong. It serves a purpose, it serves a role, and it's beautiful. It gives us so much of our human experience. Without the animal self, we wouldn't really be here. So we're grateful for it. And we need to also train it, teach it, guide it, and be the master of it in a way, not in a condescending or controlling way, in a loving way. Because if the animal is driving the ship, it's not going to go well, right? Think of how many times in your life have you reacted? Probably more times than you can count. And if not, I don't know why you're listening to this. You're probably on a whole other level if you've never been reactive in your life, or you're just completely disconnected from yourself. Right? Reactivity. Read a headline, get hooked into one of those clickbaits on YouTube or on an ad. Make $100,000 this month. Just click here. Everyone's doing it. You can do it too. Oh my God, I want that. Easy money. Whatever, right? And we get reactive, where someone says something to you, or your spouse says something that triggers something, and suddenly you're in reaction. You no longer have control. It's okay. It's not bad or wrong. It's just like, how many times has that happened in your life? And when you react and then you act from reaction, so if your action is based in reaction, how many times has that actually served you? And how many times has it just made a big mess of the situation? I know for myself, when I've been in reactivity and made action based on reaction, it usually just makes whatever's happening worse. It sometimes makes it like one level worse. Sometimes it makes it way worse. Like sometimes it's not even a problem and I'm just reacting because whatever, it's the trigger. It brought up an old trauma, an old memory, an old fear. And then through reacting and through reaction, it then makes a problem out of nothing. And then the other person or people, they get reactive, and then it just spirals. So, it's good to know how to control that when we feel that reactivity, that's when we, take a breath, walk away, center, ground, right? Use our higher mind and intellect and our higher faculties of our soul to regulate, to self-regulate. Very helpful. So then we have our mind, we have our self-awareness, we have our intellect, we have our will. This is another aspect of kind of the middle point between the soul and the animal, is this intellectual self, this mental self, this mind, this capacity to be self-aware, to realize we're an individual, separate being, seemingly, and to have will, to have the willfulness to do and take action. And this part of ourself is important. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's great. It's like creative. And it can have limitations. It can get very stuck in black and white thinking, good, bad, right, wrong. It can create a lot of problems in our life, especially if there's not a higher guidance. Right? So our mind, they say, I don't know who said it originally, some sort of Buddhist or something, says the mind is a great servant and a horrible master. So what is the mind a servant to? What is your mind meant to serve? Who is the, like in that saying, well, okay, if the mind is a servant, who is the mind serving? What is the mind serving? Certainly not the animal. It's serving the soul. It's serving the Creator. It's serving God. It's serving a higher power and a higher faculty. So the nature of the mind as well is that the mind has an amazing creative potential to create and dream and envision. Yet the mind without a higher guidance and a higher power and without intuition is very limited in its ability to create and be creative. Because the mind is really only able to use what's already been experienced in the past. So the mind tends to just make mirror images of what it has already experienced rather than create something new. And this is why the mind, when we're just operating from the mind, we often get stuck. History repeats itself. Right? Whereas this amazing thing called the soul, this amazing thing called the spirit, the intuition, has this higher power and faculty to actually create and be creative and make something new, make something unique, create something authentic. So, what does it mean to be authentic to your animal, reactive, survival, instinctual self? Right? What is that level of authenticity? And is that where you want to be vibrating at? What does it mean to be authentic to the mind and the intellect? And what does it mean to be authentic to the spirit and the soul and the intuition? And then what does it mean, right? This is where it gets fun, to be authentic to a mind that is inspired and governed and serving the soul. What is that authentic mind? What does it mean to be authentic to an animal self that's being guided by a higher mind and higher than that, a higher intuition and soul, right? What does it mean to be authentic to a soul-infused animal self, a soul-infused mind? Very different, much more fun, much more enjoyable. You know, we can experience all the beautiful pleasures of the physical without feeling all this heavy, dense stuff. We can experience it from consciousness. Much more fun. So, these different levels of yourself, it's good to have a map. That's why we're sharing it. To gauge where you are in any given moment. So, the best way to gauge is to see, who are you when you're alone? Right? And really asking yourself that. Who are you when you are alone? And who are you when you're in a group setting? These are important questions to ask, because often, if someone is not authentic, they will, when they're alone, there'll be a tendency to suffer. And when they're in a group, there's a tendency to just conform, right? And just kind of follow the group, follow the pack mentality. There's not a lot of this like sense of an individual self and free will and free thought and kind of like, well, I'm not just going to do what you guys are doing. I'm going to do what's true to me. I'm going to do what's authentic to me. Easier said than done. It's a built-in mechanism, especially to the animal self, to fit in with the pack. That's the safest thing you can do as an animal. Fit in with the pack. Don't stick your head up too high, or you might get, killed, hurt, singled out. So, but we don't want to live like that. It's not fun. It's not authentic. It's boring. And you're not really being in your full potential. So who are you when you're alone, and who are you when you're in a group? So generally, people that don't like to be alone, they haven't really found themselves. Because when you really find yourself, being alone is great, because you get to be with yourself, capital S, which is a great self. It's the one self. It's the true self. That being said, we also tend to resonate differently, and our energy level changes based on who we're around, right? There's this saying, you're the sum total of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So there is a real effect here. It's within just energy dynamics and human nature, and it's like just kind of how it is. From 99.9% of human population. So, if you're around someone who's sad and depressed and you spend a lot of time with them, it'll start to probably rub off on you. Depending how authentic you are, how resilient you are, it may or may not rub off to a greater extent. The stronger you are in yourself, the less it'll rub off, but it'll probably still have an effect. Now, when you're around someone who's a high vibe and great energy, it'll often lift you up. So there's also this beautiful aspect of human nature and human relationships that different people will inspire different things, right? Like you might have a friend that you hang out with who just like when you're with them, you go super deep and you talk about these amazing topics and you go really deep into it. And maybe it's like very mental and it's also very exciting and fascinating. And then another friend might be that one that like you don't have a lot to like go deep on conversation, but you spend like you play sports with them or you go out and like do something physical. And then you might have a friend who's like the one that you just laugh with. You just have the best deep belly laughter with. And it's just like so much fun. And nothing's really serious. And all of those relationships are going to bring out a different part of you. So that's what's beautiful. And then who are you when you're alone? Can you find joy when you're alone? Can you find love when you're alone? Can you be happy and content when you're alone? The more authentic you are, the easier it is to be alone. So it's very good to know that because it's a way to gauge, right? If you're always around high vibe people and you're always around people that get you raising your energy level, then it's hard to actually know where your level of consciousness really is because you're always around people lifting you up or changing your energy. And that's not a bad thing. It's just good to know that like when you're alone, that's when your energy level starts to condense and kind of become sovereign. And then you get to have a clearer picture of where you're really at and where you're really living from. And to ask yourself, like, where do you want to live from? Who do you want to be when you're alone? Because it's like one person might be like, man, when I'm alone, I just want to be in joy and bliss and love. Someone else might be like, man, when I'm alone, I just want to like get things done, be productive, work on my business or, build something. Someone else might be like, when I'm alone, I just want to create. I just want to be creative. I love being creative. So who do you want to be when you're alone? I can tell you this. I've never met someone who wants to be alone and just feed that animal self. At least not the people I've met, meaning like just scrolling on Facebook and just like eating junk food and watching Netflix all day and, watching this or that and just playing video games or something or just doing these things that are very reactive in nature. It's okay to enjoy those things. That being said, you don't really meet someone who is like, that's what lights me up. That's what gives me, that's who I want to be. That's my, and, at least not in the long term. Because I guess I'm looking back when I was like a kid and a young man. I guess that was me. Because I didn't know anything else. And I was stuck in some negative patterns in my life. That being said, pretty quickly, as I grew and matured into a man, pretty quickly figured out that was not who I wanted to be. That's not the life I wanted to live. And it wasn't making me happy. So who do you want to be when you're alone? And who are you when you're alone? Those are really good questions to ask. And it's one of the best ways to raise your energy level is to be alone and then fill your time with the things and the activities that raise you up, that connect you, that raise your energy level, right? And this is really the essence of the path. Those things that light you up, those things that fascinate you, those things that turn you on, those things that fill you with love and joy and excitement and enthusiasm, whatever it might be. That's unique to each person. And those things will change as you live and go through life. So it's helpful to know that there's certain things that keep us inauthentic in our relationships and our life. These are very helpful to know. And the number one thing that keeps us inauthentic is fear. Fear. And particularly the fear of abandonment, the fear of rejection, right? Like why would someone put on a mask and be fake and act in a way that's not authentic, right? What would really motivate someone on a subconscious level to do that? To be fake, to be the person they think the other person wants them to be the person they think the world wants them to be, right? Well, it's simple, at least from my experience. Fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, wanting approval, don't feel good enough, negative self-image, negative self-talk, all these things, right? And the ripple effect of that is very unfortunate, because generally when we're inauthentic in relationship, we end up getting abandoned because we're not in truth and we're living a lie. Being authentic is a risk, because when you're authentic, you speak your mind, you speak your heart, and the people around you may or may not like that. And I have a friend that shares a teaching around this, and I forget the exact quote, so I'll paraphrase it. Something like, when you're truthful and you're authentic, you'll have some people that love you, but not everyone's going to like you. And when you wear a mask and you be fake, basically, and inauthentic, everyone's going to like you, but no one's really going to love you. So you're not going to have a lot of close people in your life. So really good teaching. When you're authentic, it magnetizes the people that will resonate with that, and it may push away people that don't. And that's okay. So what happens when we're driven by that fear of abandonment, that fear of rejection, which is part of, like, every human has it, by the way, in varying degrees. And it starts when you're a little baby, right? When you're a little baby and you're afraid that mom and dad are going to abandon you and you're going to starve and die. And that's a very real reality for a human baby. A human baby is not very self-reliant. And it's programmed into the nervous system that abandonment is bad, rejection is bad, that we might die if we're rejected, we might die if we're abandoned. And that's not actually true as an adult. However, most of us never really update our operating system to love. And so most people still resonate with that. And this leads to all sorts of disrespect. It leads to disrespecting the self. It leads to disrespecting others. It leads to falsehood. It leads to dishonesty. Right? How many men or women have put on a face, acted in certain ways, done certain things just to get that person to be with them, right, in a relationship? Said the things the person wants to see, to hear, done the things the person wanted you to do, sometimes at your own expense, sometimes disrespecting your own body, right, just to get someone. And then it's not truthful. It's a lie, and it's not going to lead to anything good, because at some point that, like, every lie has an expiration date. Truth doesn't. Every lie has an expiration date, and at some point that date's going to come up and it's going to fall apart. And that usually is what leads to abandonment. And then it reinforces the cycle, unfortunately, until we put a stop to it. So it leads to people wearing masks, right? It leads to putting on a face. So we don't want to do that. It's not authentic. And we got to love ourselves first. And that's really what keeps us authentic. That's like the number one way to be authentic, is to love yourself, to love your life, to love the people around you, to be grateful, to have appreciation for yourself and others, to love all the parts of yourself, to be intimate with yourself, right? And to give yourself the love that you're wanting from others. Because ultimately, when we're operating at that level of the fear of abandonment and we're being inauthentic, guess what? You're rejecting yourself and you're abandoning yourself when you do that. There's no love in that. So first we have to stop abandoning ourselves. We have to stop rejecting ourselves. And we need to love ourselves. We need to love ourselves in a really good way, with gratitude, with beauty. And from there, you'll find that, the fear may still be there. It probably will still be there, but it won't have the same control over you. And you'll be willing to set boundaries. You'll be willing to respect yourself and say no. You'll be willing to be honest and forthright and have integrity in your life. Be truthful. It'll come naturally. And practicing those things is also what will help you be authentic. So it goes both ways. Being authentic, the natural side effect of being authentic is that you will be respectful, truthful, honest, real. You'll have integrity. You'll be vulnerable. You'll be intimate. You'll have people that want to be around you and people that love you. And when you are unable to be authentic, then practice being truthful. Train that personality to be truthful. Train that personality to be honest, to be self-respecting, to set boundaries, and you'll start to vibrate with more confidence, self-worth, and authenticity. And then you'll give so much to everyone around you, and you'll receive so much from everyone around you. Your life will get better in every way. So this is where spending time alone is important. It's really hard. Like, if you're not loving yourself, it's really hard to love yourself when you're always around other people. There's a certain degree of you got to spend time alone. You got to be alone, and not alone on the phone, not alone on the computer, not alone doing a bunch of things. Be alone. Sit alone. Sit with a tree. Be in nature. Meditate. Really be alone. Don't do alone. Be alone. Don't do alone. Be alone. And in the being alone, you'll find that you start to really love yourself. You might first hate yourself. It's very possible. At first, you might be afraid of yourself. At first, you might want to do anything but this. However, at some point, there'll be a shift. And you'll start to find love. So there's many seeds that are inside of you right now. The nature of a seed is to grow and to eventually bear fruit and give gifts. There's many seeds inside of you. And seeds require the right environment, right? There's some seeds that stay in the earth for years before they sprout. And there's certain pine cones, for example, that they can stay in the earth for years and years. And it's not until there's a massive forest fire and there's that heat and the reaction in the soil from the fires that pine cone sprouts. It requires a very specific environment. Same with other seeds. So with any seed, every seed needs a unique environment. So the seeds that are in you require a unique environment. And the seeds of authenticity require aloneness. They require you to be alone. That's what gives them that fertility for them to sprout. And they will sprout in and of themselves. A seed, you don't have to make a seed grow. You don't have to force it to grow. A seed does what a seed does. It grows, right? So what do you think will happen to those seeds of love inside you when you give it the right environment? What's going to happen to those seeds of truth? Those seeds of authenticity, those seeds of beauty, wisdom? And what do those seeds need? Ask yourself. And once the seeds start to sprout, a lot of times they may need other people to practice and to be around. It's not like you have to go be a monk and disconnect from the world. It's just like spend a bit of time every day alone. Spend an hour being alone every day. Spend it with the Creator. Pray, meditate, get bored, be bored, and see what comes of it. Right? And then often as that plant sprouts, that plant of wisdom, that plant of love, it's going to need company. And then you're going to go out in the world and meet people and go to circles and ceremonies and different stuff and nourish that plant, and it'll bear fruit. And that fruit is not just for you. You know, when that plant of love grows inside of us, the fruit it bears, you know, the love fruit, it's not just for you to hoard away, keep just for yourself. It's to share with everyone and anyone. Right? So that's real abundance. Excuse me. So all this being said, this is the codes of authenticity. Practice love, practice gratitude, integrity, truth. You know, recognize your falsehood, recognize the ways you are inauthentic. You know, there's moments when I'll say something, you know, especially if I'm around someone new that I haven't met yet, and I'll be like, did that just come out of my mouth? Like, you know, that's not me. That wasn't authentic, and it just feels off. It doesn't feel true. Right? So recognize those moments and have grace with yourself. Don't judge yourself. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just be like, oh, that was interesting. I wonder what that was about. Why did that happen? Right? And another really good way is when you're not alone, do your best to surround yourself with authentic people. And if you don't have anyone authentic in your life, like go on a little hunt, you know, go on a quest. Ask the universe, where are the authentic people? Where can I find them? Bring them to me. Because they will teach you authenticity through their vibration, through their essence, through their presence. If you can't find anyone, find people to listen to, find audiobooks, find podcasts, YouTubes, whatever. Like, find people that embody authenticity and start to feel it. Feel it in your body, feel it in your heart, feel it in your being. And you'll start to resonate with that. And then you'll start to attract it in your physical life. So all of this is a underlying principle of how to be successful in your life, in all areas of your life. Authenticity will bring success to your relationships. It will bring success to your work, to your finances, to your community, to your home, to everything. And if something is unsuccessful and you're being authentic, like, and you're really genuinely being authentic and something starts falling apart and there's not success in that thing, it means there's something untruthful there. There's some falsehood there. That relationship isn't serving anymore. That job isn't serving anymore because you're being authentic. And then it's really good to consider, okay, maybe it's time to make a change. Or maybe there's something still in your subconscious that's holding you back, some belief, some perspective that hasn't been purified and brought into the light and integrated and alchemized. So everything we're talking about here is principle based. When you know principles, you have the keys to self-mastery and the keys to the universe, really. The universe is based on principles. So the more you can embody these types of principles, these universal principles, the more your life will improve. Because you're aligning with truth again and again and again. And what is truth, right? What is truth? You know, what are you aligning with in those moments? Are you aligning with the animal? Are you aligning with the mind? Or are you aligning with the soul and the higher power and love? Right? So Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being curious enough to stay. Thank you for exploring your own authentic self through this time together, and continue to. May you continue to understand who your authentic, unique, weird self is, okay? Because it's not going to be like anyone else. That's the nature. It's like, and we'll leave with this thought. It's like the Mona Lisa. There's only one Mona Lisa. You can have the best replica of it, and no one can tell the difference except like the absolute master who can tell. It's not authentic though, and it has no value, right? It can be exactly the same as the Mona Lisa, but it's not authentic. There's only one authentic Mona Lisa, and it's priceless, and any replica is worthless. Same with like here, we have these like boots here that we found in our basement, and they're Louis Vuitton boots. We're like, holy shit, they're probably worth like, they're brand new. They're probably worth like $1,000. This is great. And took them to a shop, and the shop said, excuse me, they're not authentic. They're knockoffs. Therefore, they're basically worth nothing. And yet, like, they look exactly the same. They're basically the same shoe. They're just not the real deal, Louis Vuitton. So, you know, this is the same with you. Find your authentic self, and that's your value in the world. That's your gift to the world. That's your service to the world. It's a beautiful thing. So may you find that. May it be so. May you embody that. May you live that. May you align yourself with that. May you come to know it on a deep level, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And may that be a beautiful gift to our world, to your world and the world, to all the people in your world and all the people in this world. So may that be so. And I'll close with this, that this is the nature of the work that I do in my own life, to the best of my ability. I don't always get it right, and that's part of being authentic. That's part of integrity. We make mistakes, and we learn, and we grow. It is a practice. This is a practice. Sometimes you show up to practice, and you kill it. You're just great. And sometimes you don't, right? It's like anything. And then sometimes you show up to the game. You know, you practice for the game of life. You practice soccer for the game of soccer. And sometimes you show up to the game and you just are like on fire, and you win, and you're the best, and you shoot you score and all that stuff. And sometimes you show up and it's not a good day, and you don't do that great. You know, so this is a practice, and I continue to learn it. And that's why I love teaching it too, because as I teach, I learn. And I learn through others. You know, I've learned this from others too. So this is one of the cornerstones of the work that I do with people. I help people create, cultivate, and find success in their life through living love, through the spiritual path, through raising their energy level, through living in alignment with the Creator, with God, with their soul, and living with integrity, living with truth, living with honesty, living with authenticity, living with purpose. So you're invited to be part of that work, either through these podcasts or through the various programs and offerings that I have. Right now I'm working on an offering that is called The Aligned Man, and it's a men's group. It's a 5-month container. We're starting in a few weeks here. So if you're a man, or if you know a man, you're invited to be part of it. Would love to have you, would love to talk to you. If you're interested, please reach out. Send me an email. Find me on social media. Happy to have a conversation. So until next time, much love. And if this resonated with you, if you got even one nugget out of this, like, subscribe, comment, share it with someone. who needs this message. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful rest of your day, week, month, year, life. Till next time.